We're about 10 weeks away now from the NFL Draft, which will be taking place in Las Vegas. And one of the biggest names that we're looking at is Oregon's Kayvon Thibodeaux, our number one edge rusher. He's been number one in many mock drafts that our experts at CBS Sports have put together over the last several months, and looks to be a surefire top 5 pick with so much potential. A unanimous first-team All-American, 2-time first-team All-Pac-12, and we are so happy to have him with us here in Los Angeles as our coverage continues. I'm Chris Hassel. We've got the Super Bowl MVP, Ray Lewis, with us. Kayvon right next to our draft expert, Ryan Wilson, who in his very latest mock draft, Kayvon, he has you going 4. Where to, Ryan?
I had you going 4 because I thought you were going to be sitting over there. I thought you were going to be sitting over here.
Wise choice.
4 to the Jets. What do you think about that?
Well, I feel like it's all opinionated. Once it comes down to it, we'll see what happens. I know a lot of trades are still going to happen. I know there's a lot of things at hand, and I still have a great opportunity at the Combine to really display why I should be the number 1 pick. So right now I'm just kind of putting my head down. I'm grinding, and I'm just, prepared for what's to come.
That is amazing. Listen, I got to do this, right? Because we're just meeting for the first time, and we met the other night.
Yep.
And it's the craziest thing ever because I'm supposed to call this kid and have some conversation. And then he tells me this story that I think, from a football perspective, what made you start loving football? Who was the person?
Okay.
Right. Go.
So we're sitting, and I had this like surreal moment where I wasn't even supposed to be at this restaurant, and I just so happened to just turn around and I go. Something just told me to go, and then I'm sitting hearing some guy talking. He's like, "Yeah, I'm from Florida, rada," and I look, I'm like, "That's Ray Lewis." I'm like, and I just got a call the same day, saying that we're supposed to be here today. But I was telling him that the first shirt or the first, NFL team that I had was the Baltimore Ravens, and it was 2012. It was the Super Bowl, and I was watching them, and it was so funny because, when the lights got shut off, I just knew and I felt that they were not going to come back. When I heard that Ray Lewis was retiring after that, I said, there's no way that Ray Lewis is going to let them do anything with the game. And, so be it. He ended up, they ended up winning, and the legacy is what it is. But now it's just like being in this moment is so surreal, and it was like I felt like I seen a father, right? When I sat and I talked to him, I'm like, man, this is me, but he's already done it, So it was just so much wisdom, so much, game, and so much love and so much passion given that at that point I knew, like, it's not only, what you can give to the game, but it's what you can give to the others around you that take part in the game.
Okay, I may get a little emotional.
It's got to feel good when you hear that.
I think it's what the game is built upon, right? Our game is built upon a brotherhood. Like the older generation are supposed to educate and help the younger generation, and supposed to inspire. And as sports, as we've seen, sports inspires all, right? We're that one place in a locker room where we defy all odds, right? There's no racial issues with us in the locker room. Everybody is one, and I think just to hear grandmother was the first one to say, you got to start watching Ray Lewis. And it's like, wow, it's like these stories. It's almost the same story for me with Lawrence Taylor. The first time I was introduced to Lawrence Taylor, what makes Oregon special? What makes that place special out of any other place here?
I think it's the greats, right? You talk about the gatekeepers, and I feel like the gatekeepers at Oregon really invest in the future, right? When you talk about not only having the platform to be who you want to be and express yourself in your light, but then having people and resources that are not only going to help you and mentor you, but then introduce you to the people that are going to help guide your future.
Yeah.
And for me, I went in with a plan. I knew that, this 3 years is going to set up the next 30 to 40 years, and God just so happened to bless me that everything panned out. And if you ask me would I have went anywhere else, I would say no, because my story was written exactly how it's supposed to be.
Absolutely. You have a very unique passion about the game of football. What made you start loving the game?
being a student of it, when you start to realize that there's so much to learn. And so at first, when you're young, you just think it's running, conditioning, and it's, I hate it. I hate it. I don't want to play anymore because everything's so heavy. There's so much to do. But then when you start to realize the work and like those Tuesdays and Wednesdays that people don't see is what actually makes the greatness and what it makes it look easy, right?
Yeah.
People say, you're out there, you're doing your thing, but it's like they don't really understand the work that goes into it. And no matter how, and now in the NFL, you see like no matter how rich someone is, you got to take that off sometime. You got to go play. It don't matter. It doesn't matter about anything but the work you put in. So just knowing that I can really hone in on craft and get better, and I think that's really what it was. It was getting better, right? When I first started playing, I hated it. It's like, I don't know how to play, I don't know how to tackle, I don't know how to run. But as soon as I started learning and I started understanding how to use my coach always said, don't be a hip bender, be a knee bender, right? And once you really kind of understand what that meant, the game's totally different.
So, Kayvon, let me ask you, you talk about that, and I think Ray makes a good point, and you make a good point as well. 2012 was 11 years ago, and this is how far you've come in that time. Someone's going to watch you in a few months, and 15 years from now, you may be having that same conversation. But you talk about learning and learn, because the physical skills are off the charts through the roof. And I went back and watched a lot of your games this morning, and it started at Fresno State. I mean, the first game of the season, you're destroying them. The Cal game, you played 2 quarters, but you did more in 2 quarters than a lot of guys did all season. What are the things that you think you need to get better at, or the things the team's going to ask you about? Because there's so much that you do well, but I would imagine you still have a lot of room for growth in your mind.
I mean, everything. There's no point, even Ray Lewis can attest to this, as being the Hall of Famer that he is, there's no point in his career where he didn't feel that he could get better. So I understand that the job is never finished, whether it's pass rush, whether it's run stop, whether it's technique, whether it's watching film. As I got older, I started to really know how to watch film and let it translate. So now I understand that, talking to NFL guys, that having that translation from the board to the video to the field, that's how you put it all together. And if you can do that, you can really hone in, and then taking care of your body, right? This is my business, and this is how I'm going to make my living and survive through the league. So it's like, if I really take it with pride and take heed to it, I mean, the sky's the limit.
Ray, can I ask you a question about Kayvon?
Absolutely.
So I'm a Steelers homer. So Ray had a special place to my heart because of all the damage he did. Those are great battles. I think you would admit to that. Brian McFadden is my guy. I love him too. Yeah. But here's the thing. When you early in your career, you had Sam Adams, you had Tony Siragusa in front of you. Later on, it's Haloti Ngata during the 2012 Super Bowl. How important is it to have someone like Kayvon, to have like the Terrell Suggs out there, to let you do your job when you're in the middle of that defense?
Well, one of the things that he plays such a role, Michael McQuarrie was probably one of my favorite defensive ends of all time. Why? The way you play the game, a motor. It's a different motor, right? Everybody else on the defensive line, they move very well. But when Mac moves, Mac moves. One of the things that makes this kid special is when he moves, the entire defense gets better, right? A lot of times you see great players, and great players make great plays, but his play takes everybody else's play to the next level. That's why when you talk about a Michael McQuarrie, when you talk about a Terrell Suggs, man, sometimes I used to see Sizzle do things that I used to be like, what? It used to change your whole mindset when you're in the game.
You ever thought about why? Because you believe in them, right? And that's the thing. And it's funny. I take back to the moment where we talked about when at that Super Bowl, when you told him you're going to do great things. And God told you to say that. And that was really a moment. If you go back, there's a player, Mykel Wright. I told him before he took back a kick return, I told him, you're going to do something great. Yeah. You're going to do it. And he did it. And I feel like when you have that pure heart and you really believe and you take pride in believing in your team and knowing that it's a team sport, we all play for each other. That's the true meaning of. That's how you win. That's what wins Super Bowls. That's what wins championships.
See, and this is where I think his value for me, right? If I'm telling you coming to my team to start a team, a culture, whatever it is, his value of being a leader, but understanding that leadership is actually making everybody around you better. That's at this young age for him. That's what makes me say, if I'm taking anybody the number one pick, I get it, right? It's offensive game, and we want to do this, we want to do that. But when you talk about productivity, when you talk about making a team want to rally around you and play for you, when you have players like this kid sitting next to me, you can play with it if you want to. But this kid right here, he's definitely the number one pick in the draft, and his work ethic and his belief in God and everything that he stands for. He's almost a total package, and he's too young to be the total package because we're always getting better.
So, Kayvon, what do you think when you hear these draft scouts say that, yeah, he's got all the intangibles, he's got all the athleticism, but he doesn't have the same fire in the belly as maybe some of the other top prospects? What's your response to that?
Fire is what's in your heart. So I had to learn through my maturity, right? And when you talk about leadership, leaders don't always have to lead from the front, right? You don't have to lead with your voice. You don't have to lead what you say. You can lead by example. Leaders can lead from the back. You can lead from wherever you are. So for me, when you talk about fire, right, the media doesn't see those conversations that we have in the locker room. The media doesn't see the film and the dedication and everything that we put into it, right? The hard work in between practices when guys are tired and we're talking about let's go, let's keep going, let's push it more. you don't get to see it. So for me, I feel like we talked about spades, right? I feel like my hand, I don't have to show them. So I want, if you're not willing to believe in me, I'm not going to show you that hand. But the team that does believe in me, they're going to get it all. And we're going to be Trump tight at that point.
Well, 10 weeks away, we're going to find out what team that is, and it'll probably be up near the top of the draft. All right, it's time to go head-to-head with Kayvon Thibodeaux, presented by the United States Marine Corps here on CBS Sports HQ. And we're going to talk the defensive lines for these two teams going up against the opposite offensive line. Kayvon, how about the Rams pass rush? Aaron Donald going up against a Bengals offensive line that gave up the most sacks in the league this season.
I mean, I know Aaron Donald is obviously, he is who he is. He's arguably one of the greatest interior defensive linemen to ever play the game, regardless of anything. And one guy that I feel like people forget. Right? When Von Miller when he was on the Broncos in his later years, he's washed. He's done. Von, they're going to get rid of him. He's got that new fire, right? That same thing. He doesn't have that fire in his heart to play anymore, right? But a new situation, guys that believe in each other, and another opportunity. Now he's fighting for that next contract. I know he wants to keep playing. In this game, I feel like the last end of the stretch was amazing for him, and I feel like the combination of Aaron Donald, Leonard Floyd, Von Miller, and don't forget Justin Hollins. That's a former Duck, and I'm looking for him to go make some plays too. But when you talk about having a unit around him and being able to really go play, I mean, I'm excited to see what they're going to do. And
how about on that other side of the ball, the Bengals pass rush against the Rams offensive line and what Trey Hendrickson has been able to do. I believe it's 14 games this season. He's registered at least a sack. No one has ever had more than that.
It's going to be a test. This is a big stage, and I know the Bengals they're a newly formed team, they're a younger team, but Joe Burrow has what it takes to get them there, and not only the D-line, but now it's like they're going to come to play. They're playing with that fire, that chip on their shoulder. So, and being a D lineman, that the game starts and ends up front in the trenches. So now I want to see them stop the run, right? Can they stop Cam Akers? Can they make them force, the Rams into third and longs and second and longs and really give that chance to get it going?
What do you think, Ray?
Yeah, look, I think it's simple. I think he made some great points. One of the things, I'm going to flip it a little bit. One of the things that when you watch the Rams defense, you're talking about a NASCAR team. You're talking about a team that is built to go towards the quarterback. If you're the Cincinnati Bengals, you're going to have to find a way to get Joe Mixon involved in this game. Joe Mixon is going to need, as a run game in total, they're going to need 35 carries. Why? Because it's a different ball game when you start to understand that. You have to test that Rams front seven to make them play a physical game. San Francisco 49ers has had great success against the Rams, running the football. And I think that's where they're going to have to go. You flip it on the other side. I think the Bengals, to your point, they're going to have to, in that zone that they love to keep the ball in front of you, bend but don't break defense, they're going to have to force Matthew Stafford into some mistakes. Right? They're going to have to show him something else. If not, Cam Akers, realistically, because he's going to have to check if it's there in the cover two, right? So they're going to check. They're going to check the ball down. He's going to possibly have 15, 20 carries, possibly be the MVP. I'm just kind of giving you forward thoughts. Yeah, because it's a chess match. That's one thing about this game, right? Both Super Bowls I was in. It's not who's better. It's who's make the less mistakes, right? And that's where, if you're the Rams, you have to figure out, Matthew Stafford, I don't want you to make that mistake, right? I don't want you to be the Matthew Stafford that everybody talked about that never could get it done. This is an opportunity for the Rams to get it done, and I think it comes down to Matthew Stafford understanding how to beat the Bengals defense.
Rams are the favorites in this game, -3.5 as of Friday night. Kayvon Thibodeaux, what is your pick, and how do you think it's going to go down on Sunday?
Confidently, I'm going with the Rams. I'm an LA kid. It'd be wrong for me not to, but if the Rams if they fall asleep, right? Because you've seen it happen where a team, you have all the hype, you have everything going into it, they have the star players. If they fall asleep, you never know. Joe Burrow might sneak up on them. So I'm going with the Rams, but I know it's going to be a close fall game. Yeah.
If you noticed, I said Thibodeaux and Thibodeaux throughout this interview. I asked Kayvon beforehand, which one is it? You said it's both, right? You can go either way?
You can go either way. I feel like both are respectful. As long as you don't screw up the end, the dough part, everything else is fine in the beginning.
You've been making some dough pretty soon. Kayvon, Thibodeaux or Thibodeaux, whichever one you want. He says he's going to ask his grandma exactly how to pronounce it. Ryan Wilson, Ray Lewis, thank you so much for being part of this. Kayvon Thibodeaux, good luck in the draft and the combine. We can't wait to see what you do. Yeah.
Do you want a sports network that delivers everything that matters about the game? The highlights, the picks, the instant analysis, no yelling, no fake debates, no politics. Hit the subscribe button and never miss a moment.